Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are joining our crew out here at Mars. Once again, sorry. I'm a little distracted because I thought I made some changes to Scatterer. I did. They're showing up here just fine in map view, but down here, Mars still very, very bright. Anyway, that's kind of a side tangent. We got a little station keeping to do and a little more work to do in orbit here, actually. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. The very first thing we need to do is dig up our engineer. Oh, that Lewis Carr. Where'd she go? I'm sorry, what? There she is, Laura Douglas. We'll now EVA. We've got a couple of things we need to move over into the station proper. We're going to take care of that first. Bring out her inventory. You need to keep that drill. All of this stuff really can go ahead and go into the station's inventory. This remote guidance unit. Oh yeah, I guess we could go ahead and store that. Is that going to tell us how much it masses? No, probably not. So we'll go ahead and move over all the stuff I know we can carry first, and we'll come back and deal with some of these things. These are tasks. Ahead of us is installing this TAC life support water purifier. It does mass 3.5 tons. Oh, drive mass 0.4. She can totally carry this. Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, and installation of this remote guidance unit, so we don't have to bring one with us every single time. These explosive charges are for this container here. We'll deal with all of this stuff in a few. So now that she's ready to do, make the trip over to the station storage unit, I really wonder if I could just load up her inventory and then transfer to her inside to something closer. I don't know how I'd bring up her... No, there's got to be a way to bring up her inventory, right? Like, I probably don't have to do this on EVA, but... Well, we're here now, so... there's that. Uh-oh, lost it. Gotta stay in closer there. Inventory. Try to mitigate the spin. Or just dump things as quickly as possible. How about that? All of the cordless drills, because just in case, we'll keep one on hand. Because equip. There we go. And whoa. Oh, please don't get stuck inside the station. Yeah, I totally want to keep that pinned open so I can keep an eye on your EVA propellant levels. That would be good, right? Oh, okay. Second trip. Oh, part volume. Volume is our limiting factor here. I really wonder if that has to be node attached every single time. So part volume on that. She can carry it? It's like 3.5 tons. Well, I guess, yeah. Well, this just got very interesting. This installation is going to go a lot easier than I thought it would. Provided she doesn't run out of RCS fuel trying to haul 3.5 tons of water purifier in her front right pocket. No worries, right? Everything's good. Everything is A-okay. So I guess first we're going to install this water purifier onto this conveniently placed node that used to be a window of some kind, I'm sure. And then we're going to come back and grab the remote guidance unit and install it as well. And then that's just weight we can take off of our crew vehicle, is not having to include one of these. Because right now there's one built onto Chestnut inside of this fairing under the heat shield, so it's going to get disposed of on Reentry, but having one permanently on station just seems like a good idea. Inventory, let's go ahead and get this thing ready. Too heavy, bring more Kerbal. So we can take it out of her backpack, just not... Alright, let's have her grab onto the side of the station. And we're going to go ahead and... Oh man, we need to bring out 3 more Kerbals for 4 total. Each of them can move about a ton, right? Yeah. 3.5 ton is greater than 1. Obvious logic, but okay then. Yeah, when you move the window, apparently it shifts the point of mass. That's hilarious. Oh, so sluggish. Can you grab that ladder, please? I would like you to stay. Yes, grab. Stay put. Hopefully. I don't know if she can do the installation from that far away, but I guess we'll find out. No, I want you to stay there. Are you going to slowly drift up the ladder? Probably. Alright, so crew hatch, Jaguar, EVA. Alright, come on, old man. We need to get you on site as quickly as possible. You and some friends. Grab. Who's in the lab so I know not to interrupt their work? Alyssa and Sally. So Lewis Carr, wherever you might be, EVA. Oh, you're... I mean, just hanging out in this thing. That's cool too. Whatever does it for you, dude. I really wish I knew what kind of proximity. I don't know. Like a visual indicator of such would probably be intrusive, but... Grab. Alright, one more. Alyssa and Sally, which apparently the only 2 left on board. Are we shy of Kerbal here? I swear I put somebody in one of these. Where is our 6th Kerbal? Ah, there we go. Deanna. Let's see if you can grab onto this ladder and still be in helper range. Please don't push people up the ladder like that. That's just rude. Alright. All Kerbals on the ladder. Inventory. Equipped. Bring more Kerbals. So only these 3 are in range. So that is not in range. Spacebar, let go. Let's orient you around to the other side here. I wonder if the attachment point is in range. And can you maybe just hang out over here somewhere? Man, should have brought some ladders to act as grab points. Really? I guess the helper proximity is pretty small. Grab. Climb back down, please. Can you nudge your friend? Alright, no excuses. Except maybe the attachment point is out of range. Yeah, the attachment point is totally out of range. Top and bottom attachment points only. I wonder if that's still within helper range. No, we're... What are you... Okay, just sometimes you need to EVA somersault. That's cool too. Yes! Got it. Life support filter installed. Brilliant. It does block the windows a little bit, but you know, no worries. Okay, let's get you back over to Chestnut and grab that remote guidance unit. In the meantime, I think we're gonna tuck our other crew back inside their respective vessels for some good old hanging out time. I'm glad everybody could get suited up for this nice team installation activity that went way smoother than I thought it did, or it was going to, because I thought we were going to have to migrate like 4 Kerbals along in this weird daisy chain of trying to shift this thing around point to point to get it from over here to its installation point, but you know, I guess not. So cool. All right, Yegor, let's get you in our. Is there a hatch on this side? There is. Good. So, all right, we're gonna tuck these Kerbals away, and then get on along with the rest of our installation procedure here. Our brave engineer will forego the time it will take to refill her RCS pack, just opting instead to kind of bite it out as we tuck the rest of our Kerbal heavyweight lifting crew into the chestnut. They can connected living space. No, they can't because that tank thing's in the way. Anyway, it's time to remove this remote guidance unit, which looks to be, it requires a node attachment. The problem here is that we don't have a node we can attach it to between here and there. So our only option, and the obvious worst option available to us, is to just detach it from the docking port where it is mounted, and then line ourselves up and punt it into place. We'll just give it a swift kick in the space and hope that we don't lose it drifting way off into the void. But a little second rebound punt here to put it back on course, and we can just try to get ourselves in close enough to make the grab and hopefully make the attach. Nicely done. That's some quality engineering right there. And not a solar panel was broken. I think that went pretty well, I'd have to say. Everything is where it's supposed to be. Huh. Alright then. Okay. Well, let's get back inside and get everything fired up and see how well it all works. First, let's take a quick save. Alright, activate water purifier. Running, okay. Apparently no one's eating anything, and we're also not draining any water, but at least they're breathing okay. I got the CO2 scrubbers running on a lot of them. As you can see, we, not too long ago, purged our CO2 and waste products and such, so there's that. And let's also, good, operational, fantastic. We should still have our red dot from map view. Let's verify. Indeed we do. Well, alright. That went way better than I expected it to, or way better than it had any right to. How's our science data looking as I struggle to fill time? 1.6, yeah, I just radioed that in, so no surprises there either. Well, alright then. Well, we will give our crew around Mars a day or two of rest while we're still waiting for our shuttle in low Earth orbit to fulfill the time requirement on its contract. And the decision is made to strip the scientific equipment from the outside of Odysseus here. I have this bold and daring plan that maybe we can try to bring Odysseus home with us on our next return leg. I think we do have the Delta V to spare. If not, maybe we can use those engines to kind of give us a couple of tens of meters per second of a little nudge, and then see if we can't just bring it home attached to our nose docking port. It's landed on 3 celestial bodies all on its own now, and I feel like it really does deserve a place in the Smithsonian, and I want to see what kind of, I don't know, data and reputation, that's the term I'm looking for, reward we can get for returning something that has been to Mars, Phobos, and Deimos, and touched the surface of all 3, as well as flying through Mars's atmosphere, and, you know, a bunch of other, it's been around, and it is about time to retire it. I think if we decide to go back to Phomos or Deimos, we can use a much more specialty built craft for it, and I would like to add this thing to the CCSA Hall of Fame. So our engineer out on EVA, collecting all the little sciencey bits and putting them in storage here at Harmonia Station. Maybe we can find some deployable use for them in the future. We've pretty much filled that whole container up, which is pretty cool, although I would have liked to taken a few more things off of that. But that's as far as we're going to go with prep work for that thing. So anyway, we'll just scoot right along on to other things. Returning to our crew here in low Earth orbit, we do have a little bit of a logistical something or others to attend to, and the first part of that would be the primary function of this mission, which was just basically to carry up 90 tons worth of supplies. Not just straight sandwiches this time. We are carrying some Aerozine 50 and nitrogen tetroxide to top off the tanks out here at Kauai Potato Station. I'm pretty sure I said the wrong station earlier. Way to go, Crash. Anyway, so we have this very large tank. It does have its own AJ-10 attached to it because I had intended on deorbiting the mostly empty module when we had completed the transfer of resources. What I did not remember to take into account of is that with very frequent Shuriken Mark 6K flights have basically kept the fuel levels out here pretty stable, and the life support pretty much topped off, as it brings up a whole host of cargo with it as it does its crew transfery thing. So, much to my surprise, I brought with us way too much life support supplies. I could have brought quite a bit more fuel. As you can see, we're not quite topped off on our tank there. That was brought up by a SKS standard. I guess we'll call that the Mark II. Yeah, a while ago. And so we kind of need to improvise what the hell we're going to do. Anyway, part 2 of this mission, and really the actual objective of this flight, was to return Nemo to the surface for repair and retrofit. You'll notice that the blue lunar transit vehicle, codenamed Dory here, has a 4-engine segment, all AJ-10 118Ks. Nemo, the original iteration here in orange, only has 2 engines, which has made a transfer to the moon just a little slow, and we've tested out both craft in both their trips out to the moon, to lunar orbit, I should say, and then back to Earth orbit, and both have performed just fine. Dory just does it a little quicker, making that transfer, that TLI burn, a little more manageable and a little easier to target because it takes literally half the time. So the decision was made to pack Nemo up in the cargo bay of the SKS Heavy and bring it home, where we can fit the 4 engines onto the back of the craft, and then it will launch back up on another SKS flight to be scheduled, although I'm sure it will happen probably within a month of returning this orbiter, depending on our repair and retrofit times. So the first step was to move the crates from Nemo to Dory, just because otherwise it probably wouldn't fit. And then well, we'll see how much we can transfer out of our resupply doohickey just to make as much room as we can. We're going to kind of have to improvise. Like I said, I had every intention of deorbiting that supply pod after it had jettisoned most of its wares. The problem is it's nowhere near empty, and I sure as hell didn't fly 90 tons of sandwiches and highly corrosive materials to orbit in containers right next to one another just to deorbit them later. And we all know food, water, and oxygen don't have expiration dates, and neither does Aerozine 50 and nitrogen tetroxide. So it's in our best interest to find some method of keeping all of these goodies on station. Thankfully, we have Kerbal attachment system that we can use to our advantage in this, provided, of course, we can get this resupply pod out without dinging Dory too badly, at least. What's another dent here or there? Just, on the fuel tank side, it's probably not the best place to get them. The last thing you want to do is rupture one of those. But with a little induced spin, thanks to the sheer mass of this thing, knocking things off to the side by clipping the cargo bays that absolutely would not have broken under such a load. We can start to maneuver this thing, I guess we're going to call this way aft, down the station, but towards the nose of the SKS, and yeah, wow, that spin looks so much worse in sped up footage. Our next problem is that we have no real means of attaching the supply pod to the station. What we do have is spare docking ports and a complete lack of accuracy. It's drifting away in such a manner to where our best bet, and since it is kind of hard to control, it was never intended to dock with anything. So wait until our alignment is good, grab the docking port, and then fling ourselves across the void until we get close enough and make an attachment. Awesome. Now that it is local, we can bring ourselves in a little closer and try to do a much more accurate node attach to what will hopefully become the center. We do have to just be close enough to get it. But with lots of skill and practice and training, eventually we will nail it. And that docking port is now attached to our pseudo extra supply pod, you know, the Doomsday prep box. Right. Anyway, we need to set the target. The best available docking port for something like this is going to be on the supplies end of the station. We have our little tug friend there and our primary fuel tank. We'll just attach this on the opposite end of the tug. If we really have to tug things, well, we'll figure it out later, but I don't really foresee the need for the tug in the coming future. I do have a mission that's slated that will use the tug. We're just we're waiting on parts to unlock before I can even build the cargo for that thing. So with the aid of a little bit of time warping, we will eventually drift around to the aft side of the station and start to make our approach to our very aft docking port. Hopefully we could just zero things out. Like I said, this thing was never built to dock with anything. It was really just, it was supposed to have enough thrusters to get itself clear of the cargo bay, point itself retrograde, and then light that AJ-10 to get rid of itself. Thankfully we gave it a control core and some batteries. I mean, yeah, we're on the dark side of Earth, so it's not like having solar panels would have done it any good. But we do have a very limited time frame in which we can make this docking happen before our batteries run out. The control core becomes useless, and all these supplies become basically lost. Because I'm not going to attempt a recovery if this docking fails. So almost lined up, just a little bit of off-axis. We'll scrape some paint and then try to just brute force it in. Of course, that works. It always works. And then we can go ahead and try to transfer as much out of the Nemo as we can. I've been instructed that it can come back, if empty, a 10-ton return or so, although we're probably going to end up pushing the bounds of that just a little bit. But I think we've transferred out as much from the Nemo as we can actually wedge into any place else. So I will turn you over to old me. Well, we've mitigated the load on Nemo as much as we can. There's still a lot of mostly water occupying space up here. I think we are, in fact, going to move our pilot, Doug Hastings, over to Nemo. It does have a control core buried in there somewhere, but I would just feel better having a Kerbal do the work. So we could entirely have just used connected living space to do this, but I think we'll risk all of our solar panels to go on EVA to make this little transfer a possibility. So if I haven't discussed it already, we are actually going to use the return capacity of the SKS Heavy to bring the Nemo home for repair and retrofit. Where are you going, my dude? Okay, I think we've sorted that problem out. Yes, we're going to use the return capacity of SKS Heavy to bring Nemo back home for repair and retrofit. After seeing how much more capable Dory is with the quad engine setup, I think we owe it to ourselves to upgrade the Nemo with a similar package. And while there is a possibility of being able to do it in orbit with Kerbal Attachment System, I'm not sure how much I trust that endeavor. So we're going to use the new capacities of our new vehicle to make it a thing. And I don't know, I guess do it properly, undock, and seeing as how it's docked by the butt, and it's the butt that we'd have to replace, I think it's probably just behooves us. Nope, I want to pivot the other way. Let's get away from the docking port just a little bit. We need to face butt down so that we can dock with this here Apollo docking port included at the aft of our cargo bay. I really hope we brought some KAS struts so that we can strut this little guy into place. I'm not entirely sure we did that. Let's also roll, get things upright. There we go, a little too much. And we'll go ahead and try to maneuver this into the cargo bay very delicately around Dory and our cargo bay doors, which are probably fragile. So they're target number 1 for collisions. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do all of this on-station maneuvering and very careful piloting. Doug Hastings, of course, a veteran of our ill-fated Harmonia rehabilitation project. We'll see how well he manages this new and exciting challenge. Yeah, there's his first nudge. Oh, this is going to be a very, very, very tight fit. I guess while they have it in for engine replacement, it's no big deal to just repaint some of these hull sections that are getting scraped up a whole bunch. The fun part is going to be trying to drive around Dory. We'd really like to not damage that one, although we'll just go ahead and clip the cargo bays again, clip Dory, wedge ourselves in the cargo bays and Dory before finally getting clear of both and getting ourselves in a little closer to the cargo bay itself, and then we'll start to try to very, very, very carefully maneuver this thing in. It is a very, very tight fit, one that I've already kind of screwed up there, but if we can get the alignment right and we can get the pitch and the yaw in line with our poor SKS here that is on its maiden flight and taking such a beating. I would like to have gotten this thing in the bay rather level. I feel, I mean, it doesn't really affect much, but it would have been nice. It would also be nice to set that docking board as a target. I guess at some point we'll probably figure that out. There it is, and now we can see our alignment vector, although I don't know if that really gives us a roll indicator or not, because I have no idea how that docking board is aligned. I would assume 90 degrees offset, but that would assume that the one on the back of Nemo was 0 degrees offset. Anyway, we're coming up on when this actually decides to make contact, so I'll turn you over to old me. Finally. Only a couple of grams of paint scraped off there. A gallon or so, maybe. But Nemo is secured in the cargo bay. It's a little off kilter, but you know what? We're just not going to worry about that. Doug Hastings can now EVA back into the cockpit of the shuttle and start doing the pre-descent checklist. They've got a couple more days to spend here in orbit to satisfy the contract, so we'll just let them get on with that, and we'll probably make a nice fade cut here until when they're ready to come home. Well, as much as I hate to break it to you, all of that nice stuff is probably going to have to wait until next episode. I've taken up far too much of your valuable time already. So, with our astronaut safely tucked away and the last little bit of resource transfer and some desperate attempt to make Nemo a little bit lighter for return, that's where we're going to have to end it today. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. I really do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So, until then, see you later.